Hi everyone, Kristina here. Welcome to day one of the holiday card series for 2015. This is my 7th year doing a holiday card series, if you can believe it. And for this very first card, I'm going to be using this stamp set from the new Simon Says stamp release. This is called Christmas Cats. This is a stamp set that I designed, and I based it off of my two cats, Sophie and Daphne. So you know I will for sure be coloring them like my two cats. So I started out by creating a little template for myself. I stamped both cats on some vellum, and then I also embossed it just because the ink that I had used was not drying very quickly, so I thought I would just clear emboss it so that I could move on. And I'm going to be saving this template so I can use it on future cards. So it's actually a really great idea for doing templates like this because it's going to assist me while I do some stamping and masking. And because the masking and stamping of this card is so important to the final image, I'm going to spend a little bit of time showing you guys how I did it. So the first element that I stamped is this Santa hat. When you're doing any sort of masking on your cards, you have to think of what you want to be in front. So I want this hat to be in front of the cat. So I want to stamp it first and then also create a mask out of some masking paper, trim it out, and then I'm going to put that mask over the top and then stamp the cat over top of the hat. And what happens is that because the hat image is protected, the lines from the cat stamp won't show through. So it makes it look as if the cat is wearing the hat and the hat is in front of the cat. So it works out really, really well. If you've done any sort of masking before, this should be kind of like an old trick to you. You've done it before, you understand it. But for those of you who might be new to masking, you just have to remember, always stamp first the image that you want to be in front. So I also stamped the little heart from the stamp set, so the cat is holding the heart. And then I'm going to move on to this other cat, and I want the cat to be holding the present and then also wearing a scarf. And I made the mistake of stamping the scarf first because I thought the scarf would be above the present, but it turns out that the present is in front of the scarf too. So I moved up to a different area of that watercolor paper and stamped the present or the gift box, made a mask for it, and then covered that box with the mask. And now I'm using that cat template. This is where it really comes in handy because I'm going to let this sit on top of that present while I position the scarf. And this makes it so I can see exactly where it's going to be stamped. This is also another reason why I used my Misty tool, because it allows me to place the stamp in the perfect position, and then I can swing over that door that's on the Misty and pick up the stamp, and it will be in the perfect position. So I pick that up, and then I'm going to remove the template, and then I can ink up that scarf and stamp it over on top of that present. I'm also going to create a mask for the scarf so that when I stamp the cat, it looks as if the cat is wearing the scarf and holding the present. So I'm going to put that mask over the top. I also wanted to mention that this watercolor paper that I'm using is Arches Cold Press, and I'm also using VersaFine Black Onyx ink. And that's because this ink is a pigment ink and it is waterproof. And so it's perfect for doing any sort of water mediums on top of these images. So like I said before, I'm using that black ink. It's a pigment ink and it's great for stamping like this. I really, really enjoy using VersaFine ink. It's this black version of ink because it stamps so beautifully nearly every time, and I never have any problems with it bleeding or smearing. The only thing you have to make sure that you do is make sure that you let it completely dry before you move on to your watercoloring, because otherwise it will start to smear or bleed. So you just have to let it dry just a tad longer. Sometimes you can just hit it with your heat tool and it speeds up that drying process. So I'm going to save these masks so that I can use them on a future card. I definitely can use them a couple more times before the stickiness is gone. And I'm also going to save that vellum template. So the watercoloring I'm doing today, I'm going to be using a size 2 round brush, and I'm only using 3 colors of paint. And this is Dr. P.H. Martin's Hydrus watercolor. I'm using Carbon Black, Carmine, and also aqua green for all of this painting. So I'm going to turn on some music and speed up the painting process, and I'll show you in the middle some images that I'm using as inspiration. So now it's time to color the cats. So I brought up an image of my cat Daphne on my phone here so I can get her coloring right on her face. And then here's a picture of Sophie for the other cat. You can see she has a little bit of a different stripe on her forehead. So I wanted to make sure that I got that accurately. So after all the watercoloring was done, I very carefully trimmed out both cats. I just went around the edges. I didn't leave any white margin around the shapes. And I just went all the way up to that black edge. This is the reason why I didn't use the coordinating dies for this stamp set, because I didn't want any white edges around the image. I also took a black brush tip marker. This is a memento marker. You can use whatever black brush tip marker you want. And I just painted the edges so that it looked like I got a perfect cut. So I've cut a circle piece of cardstock here. It is actually a 4-inch wide piece of cardstock. And I've also got a piece of masking paper. I'm going to create a little bit of a sloped line to go underneath the cats. It's going to give it kind of a ground for the cats to sit on. So I'm just using a pencil to draw that slope. I'll just trim it down and then apply it or stick it down onto that circle. So I'm going to have those cats in place so I can get it in the right position, and then I'll press that down. I'm going to do some ink blending on this circle. I'm using 4 different colors of distress ink, and it happens to be the same colors of distress ink that I used in a previous card this week. So this is my favorite color combination for kind of a wintertime sky, and you're probably going to see it over and over during this holiday card series this year just because it is one of my favorite combinations. So I used tumbled glass, and then broken china, and then chipped sapphire, and then finished off with black soot. And you kind of have to like vacillate back and forth between the colors until you get everything blended really nicely. For instance, I went over the area twice with broken china to get it really blended. So I'm using my heat tool to dry that ink because it's super wet, and distress ink is sort of notorious for causing problems when you want to heat emboss over the top. So I wanted to make sure it was completely dry before moving on. The stamp I'm using for the greeting is from the Circle Sayings Holiday stamp set, and I wanted the circle to be just slightly larger than it was originally, so I just used my scissors and performed a little bit of stamp surgery and cut those words apart so that I could reposition it a little bit larger on my compact stamp press. Stamped that in Versamark ink. It's a very sticky ink. It's perfect for embossing. And then I used a dry brush to kind of brush off any of that embossing powder that stuck to areas past that white area that I masked off. The embossing powder I used today is Hero Art's white embossing powder. So I heated that till it was melted, and then I used some foam adhesive to stick down both of the cats. Using a white gel pen to add some stars or snow, could be whatever you'd like. I think these sort of look like snow. And the card base is going to be a slightly larger circle. This circle is actually 4.5 inches wide, so it's just a 1/2 inch larger. And I'm scoring one of the circles at 4 inches. This is going to give me a folded flap that I can use for adhesive. And then when I put the 2 circles together, it will create a folding card base with the front of the card being a perfect circle. So you can see how that folds up. Put some foam adhesive behind this circle piece here that I've created, and using my tweezers, I very carefully place that onto the card base. Before this card is completely finished, I wanted to add a little bit of shimmer, so I used my clear Wink of Stella glitter brush pen to add lots and lots of shimmer right on top of those red areas. So I'll also put it on top of that gift box on the ribbon. So that's the card for today. Make sure you head over to my blog. This is part of a blog hop for Simon Says Stamp's new release. So there's a giveaway associated with the blog hop, so you want to make sure you head over there. And you can also hop along and see all the other inspiration from this brand new release from Simon Says Stamp. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will be back on Monday with day 2 of the holiday card series. I'm so excited to get this started, and I hope you guys are too. Like I said before, this is my 7th holiday card series. That's crazy. I can't believe this is my 7th year. So that means I have 6 cards for you guys to check out. These span back to 2009. I hope you guys get some fun holiday inspiration from all of these cards. You can catch me over at my blog at kwernerdesign.com. And if you don't want to miss any more of this year's holiday card series, please click that subscribe button in the top corner. And I will see you guys in the next card video. It will be day 2 of the holiday card series.